Hey, if you're thinking about relocating to Rochester, Minnesota, most videos will focus on neighborhoods, pricing, or commute patterns, and those are all important conversations, and we've actually covered them in detail. But today I want to talk about something different. I want to talk about what daily life feels like once the moving truck leaves, once the boxes are unpacked, and this is no longer a visit, it's home. I'm Kelly Domaille with Domaille Real Estate at eXp Realty here in Rochester, Minnesota. My husband Bruce and I work with relocation buyers every single week, especially physicians, healthcare professionals, executives, and families who are moving here for opportunity and lifestyle. And one of the most common things that we hear about 3 to 6 months after they've moved in is this. This feels different than I expected. Not in a bad way, just different. So before we go deeper, if this kind of honest experience-based content is helpful to you, make sure that you're subscribed to our YouTube channel because we post weekly videos that are designed to give you clarity before you relocate so that you can make decisions based on real life, not assumptions. Now let's talk about that real life. The first thing most people notice after moving to Rochester is the rhythm. The pace here is steady. Mornings don't feel frantic. You wake up, you make your coffee, you get ready, you leave the house without feeling like you're entering chaos. There's movement in the city, especially with the Mayo Clinic being here and being the heartbeat of our community, but the energy is purposeful. It's not overwhelming. So you don't feel like you're fighting the day before it even begins. Now that shift alone really surprises a lot of relocation buyers. If you're coming from a larger metro area, you may be used to constant noise, congestion, and overstimulation. Here, the day will feel structured and manageable, and you can run errands without dedicating half the day to it. You can schedule appointments without building your entire week around traffic patterns, and that predictability changes your stress level more than you realize. Now, another part of daily life here is how community functions. Rochester isn't a small town, but it's got strong small town characteristics. You'll see familiar faces. You'll run into coworkers at the grocery store. You'll recognize other parents at activities. And that familiarity creates a sense of connection that doesn't always exist in larger cities. For some people, that takes adjustment. Here, people participate. They join organizations. They volunteer. They show up at events. And if you lean into that culture, you'll build relationships quickly. If you expect entertainment to come to you without engagement, it might feel a little bit more quiet. Rochester rewards participation. Now let's talk about weekends, as this is another lifestyle difference people feel right away. Weekends here are active, but they aren't frantic. You'll see families at youth sports tournaments, you'll see professionals walking trails, playing golf, attending community events, or just gathering with friends. The farmers market draws consistent traffic, local restaurants fill with families and small groups. The activity level is steady without being overwhelming. And many relocation buyers tell us they feel more present on weekends here. In larger markets, weekends can often feel like recovery just from the week. Here, they feel like an extension of your life. You can accomplish things and still feel rested. That balance matters, especially for high-achieving professionals who've lived in environments where burnout feels normal. There is also a strong home-centered culture in Rochester. People invest in their homes not just financially, but socially. Backyard gatherings are common. Dinner parties are common. Golf leagues, church groups, book clubs, fitness classes, and nonprofit events create social layers that are relationship-driven rather than status-driven. The focus isn't on being seen, it's on being connected. Now let's address something directly. Rochester isn't flashy. It isn't a city built around a nightlife or constant spectacle. If your ideal lifestyle revolves around nonstop entertainment, high-end shopping districts on every corner, and dense urban energy, you'll feel the difference right away here. That doesn't mean that there's nothing to do. It just means that lifestyle here is intentional. You plan experiences, you build routines, you create your social environment rather than consuming it passively. And for many of our relocation clients, especially those tied to the Mayo Clinic, that intentionality becomes one of the biggest positives. Their careers are demanding. They don't need chaos outside of work. They need stability. They need calm. They need an environment where they can focus at work and decompress at home. And Rochester provides that combination. Another lifestyle factor people really appreciate is the sense of safety and structure. Daily life feels predictable. That predictability creates mental space. And when you're not constantly assessing your surroundings or navigating uncertainty, you conserve energy. And that shows up in subtle ways. Families feel more comfortable allowing children more independence. Professionals feel less guarded. There's an ease to the environment that many buyers didn't realize that they were missing. At this point in the conversation, if you're actively considering relocating and you want a structured breakdown of what to expect before and after your move, just scan the QR code on the screen and download our free Rochester Relocation Starter Kit. It will walk you through the transition process in detail, including lifestyle adjustments that people often underestimate. Now let's talk about social integration as adults. Many relocation buyers worry about making friends, and the reality is that Rochester is relationship-based. Work environments, especially within healthcare and associated industries, create already built-in networks. Professional circles are going to overlap, fitness communities are active, volunteer organizations are strong, faith communities are deeply rooted, and business associations are very engaged here. However, connection here is gradual. It is not transactional. You need to build trust over time. And once relationships form, they tend to be stable and long-term. And that stability really mirrors the overall culture of our city. It isn't dramatic, but it's durable. And another piece of daily life here is access to the outdoors and recreational opportunities. Trails are well used, golf courses are active, parks are maintained and accessible year-round. Even simple routines like evening walks feel integrated into community life. People use the city, they just don't live in it. We also see a noticeable shift in work-life balance for many relocation clients. Without the constant drain of heavy congestion, long daily stress cycles, and overstimulation, people can actually reclaim their time. And that reclaimed time often goes into family involvement, fitness, or personal interests. And over months, that compounds into meaningful lifestyle improvement. Now, is Rochester perfect? No city is. Growth continues, development continues, expectations continue to evolve, but the underlying culture remains consistent. Grounded, steady, community-driven, and centered on sustainability rather than spectacle. So what does daily life feel like after the move? Well, it feels structured but not rigid. It feels active but not chaotic. It feels connected but not intrusive. It feels professional without being competitive socially. And most importantly, it feels manageable. And that manageability is what many relocation buyers tell us they value most 6 months after moving here. Not the square footage, not the zip code, the feeling of balance. So if this conversation helped you picture what life here might really look like, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, because each week we continue breaking down different layers of relocating to Rochester so that you can make informed, confident decisions. I'm Kelly Domaille with Domaille Real Estate. We help people transition into Rochester with clarity and intention so that daily life feels aligned from the start, not surprising later. And join us for our next video, because we're going to go even deeper into how high achievers can build true work-life balance right here in southeastern Minnesota. So don't miss that one.